Hair looks
Welcome to Stranger Connections, where I celebrate wonderfully weird people and quirky stories. I'm your curious beast and host, Lisa David Olson, the practically world famous business humorist, interactive speaker, and speaker trainer. Reach out to me if you want me to reignite your team or event, or maybe you want to start your journey to the TEDx stage. TEDx stage, that's something that my next guest knows a lot about. Please welcome a psychotherapist, TEDx speaker, author, relationship expert, and keynote speaker, and my bestie online, who I can't wait to meet in person, Dr. Heather Browne. Hey, Heather. Yay, us. Welcome back to
up.
Stranger Connections. I'll have to
Oh,
look
I'm
up
always
when
so
the first
happy whenever I
episode.
can see your beautiful face.
Oh, for sure, for sure. You're so sweet. Well, I don't know if I've had too many people back, but we had to reconnect on the show because you've had quite an update since your first time that we were on Stranger Connections. So I know that any single second as of this recording, your book is about to be released. And
Any
you're
second.
you're waiting for the update. So if anybody that doesn't know, her book is Speaking with the Heart: Transforming Your Relationship and Communication with Compassion and Connection. And we want this book, but it's hanging out there in Amazon land. So, how does that feel? You finally did the things and now you just want to get them.
I'm just trying to take the moment for what it is because once it's out, it's out. And then I won't ever be in this pre-book little phase again.
True.
But I also have a lot to do once it is out. I have
Mm.
115 people waiting for a text.
Mm.
And so there'll be a little bit of work to do. So it's kind of like, when am I starting? When am I starting? But for the listeners who don't know me, your lovely host started my journey tremendously. She was the very first podcast I've in my entire life ever done. I think I've now probably done about 60.
Yes.
And
People can go to your Facebook page, Dr. Heather Browne. Browne has an E after it. Not on Facebook.
no, yes, on Facebook, but like a gazillions of,
Oh.
of, of podcasts. And so after we'd had our wonderful my first podcast episode, Lisa just started talking to me off microphone about who I was and how I was, and we just basically fell madly in love with each other. And
Absolutely.
she you asked me if I'd ever thought about being a speaker. And I kind of had, but hadn't done much with it. And so Lisa said, well, you should do a TEDx. And so I said, okay. And so
Yes.
I walked that journey and she pointed me in the right direction, helped me with it, listened to me, coached me. And then in that process, someone said to me, you should write a book. And so I did. And so you, Lisa, and audience, just so you know, massively important for this whole journey for me. Because without that first podcast, who knows if I ever would have done a TEDx. And I had been kind of working on my book for 6 years. And now, what, year and a half, 2 years later?
They both come out within months of each other, and you're almost tripping over yourself seeing where you're at. It's a great journey, but when I spoke with you, and it's happened to me with other guests that have an incredible story, and it just hits me like, are you on stages? Because so many people have that kind of story that really affects others. And for you, the background is being around as a kid, being around with your mom. And if you want to talk a minute about that, and it's probably what got you into psychotherapy, I'm guessing.
Absolutely. So my mom was a paranoid schizophrenic and she was an alcoholic and she really, really struggled and killed herself when I was 16.
Mm.
And living with somebody who didn't live in the same reality that I did showed me that relationship and connection and communication are very different for each person. And we really don't think about that. We really don't think about what someone's life has been or how they feel about things or how they experience things. And so it just gave me a different compassion and a different awareness. And then it moved into me really wanting to try to help people live a life where they could be healthier and more congruent and love themselves and take care of themselves and love others. And I fell in love with psych, and
Mm.
here I am.
That's so
So
lucky that it put you on that path because it could have gone a different way. You could have had different coping mechanisms that would not have been as healthy and would not have been such an outcome where you're helping others.
my sister, bless her beautiful, beautiful heart, struggled with that. And
Mm.
she got into boys and sex and drugs and alcohol. And fortunately, she didn't stay on that path very long, but she did hide on that path. And I think that's something that happens for a lot of us when we've gone through something really difficult. We feel the need to hide from our life, and so we find some way to do it. Mine Mine was education and school, which if you're gonna choose one, that can be somewhat of a healthier path to go. But I was just really trying to understand, like, what is this thing called life, and
Mm.
what makes a person, and how do you have your voice, and how do you do all of this? So there was a lot of searching in that. But in that, it also showed me that I look at communication and relationship and connection really differently. Most people start with words, and then with the words that they share, they hope they connect, and they hope that it goes well. And from my mom, I realized that's not the way to do it, at least in my opinion. The way to do it is to start with compassion. Like, I'm going to care for you. I'm going to care for this conversation we're going to have. I'm going to care for myself. I'm going to know where I want to go on this journey. And I'm going to share it with you to see if you're going to join me. And then I work toward joining you. And how do I connect with you? And then from that, you get to the words. So I think we do communication like we need to flip it on its head. If you want to have a great conversation with someone, it's really important that you're embracing who that other person is. And it's also really important that you've got some understanding of what you're trying to achieve. Otherwise, you're just throwing stuff at each other. I use the example, I love food. So I use the example of cooking. So I say, if I'm going to make something, I don't just open up my cupboards and my refrigerator and just throw in whatever I grab, like sauerkraut and honey and cottage cheese and beets and leftover lasagna, and then say, "Oh, what is this?"
It's called hot dish where I live.
Chef's special.
That's right. Surprise.
And I have a story about that. And but we have a recipe, and we follow the recipe, and we have an idea, I mean, whether we're a good cook or bad cook, how it's gonna turn out. Why would we not do that with a conversation? Why would you not say, "What do we wanna end up with?" "I wanna end up with you hating me." "Okay, screw
Yeah.
you, you do everything wrong." But if I
Yes.
want you to end up loving me, I gotta start differently. "Hey, you're really important to me, and I really care about you. And I wanna bite off your head right now, and I know that's not the best thing." So, but we don't do that. And so with my 27 years of working with people, I've realized we have not been taught how to communicate effectively and respectfully, which blows my mind. And the whole reason I wrote the book is because though every client is different and every relationship I have with every client is different and every session is different, I kept saying some of the same things again and again and again and again. I'm like, gosh, everyone needs this.
Right.
There's four really important questions, I think, before you step into any important conversation. And I thought, no one's taught that. No one's taught to start with compassion and kindness and connection. No one says before you sit down and do something really important, figure out how to get where you wanna get, but we do it with a car,
Mm. Mhm.
do it with a recipe, but we don't do it with words.
That's good. I really appreciate that thought because, being on my 3rd and final marriage, I could have used some of these tips, but hey.
I did a podcast the other day, and the gentleman literally said, "You should be in every high school or college."
Oh, yeah,
He
I
said,
could see
basically,
that.
every single person who's listened to this podcast, you need this book. And I just sort of laughed.
Nice,
There you
yes.
go. But it's true. We're not really taught, how do you do this well? And then how do you create it with another?
Mhm.
We're taught some things like active listening and you and I, and they're all really, really important. But the piece that's missing, that's the most important, is the connectivity with the other. And how do you create that? And how do you support that?
What is something you could say that is more of a blanket statement that you said you were hearing the same thing over and over, you found yourself answering it? I mean, I'm sure it's asked in different ways, but what is one of the first things you think of when you think, I wish everybody knew this about their relationships.
So this one is not going to land really well, but everyone will understand it when I say it. And I'm using the word understand on purpose. Our challenge is we think the other person doesn't understand us. It's true. And we spend all our energy and time trying to be understood, which means I'm trying to make you think the way I think. If you just stop for a second and take that in, that makes no sense. You're never going to. You're you. And that negates all of you. So it's all based on one person. So we're never going to really understand the other person. And even if we totally do, we'll never know because it's all subjective. If I say, "Oh my gosh, your hair is the most beautiful brown and gray combination. I love it." I have no idea if you see brown and gray the same way that I do. I'll never know. I'll never
That's
know.
true. You're right. And and
Chocolate
if my
tastes
husband
the
was in
way.
my head, what's that?
Does chocolate taste to you the way it tastes to me? Does love feel the same as it does to me, as it does
Mm,
to you? Does the ocean touch your soul in the way it touches mine? Like, these beautiful, beautiful parts of being an individual, we think everyone else in the world experiences the same thing. I have no idea where my mom went in her psychosis. Absolutely none. But that doesn't mean I can't know she went somewhere. So, if we take that truth, I'm never gonna really understand you. And so, why don't I take that pressure off myself? And please, you take that pressure off of me too. And let's share. Let's just share. And we'll walk alongside where we can walk alongside. And where it makes absolutely no sense, we're going to walk alongside with it not making sense. I don't have to get you to love you.
mm,
I don't have to get you to respect you. We do that all wrong. And so we spend all this time, you're not getting it, you're not getting, you're not listening. Instead of saying, well, what do you get? What do you think? Do you even want to know? We put so much pressure and it's misguided because
mm.
it's on the other to resolve our problem. It's why our world is just blanketed with shame and blame. If I can tell you you're doing this wrong and you're making me mad and you're screwing it up, and if it wasn't for you, I'd be fine,
Right.
then I take no responsibility for what I'm doing
No, just deflecting.
completely. But the flip
Yes.
side is I lose my power.
Mm,
And now I'm up to you to make me feel okay
wow.
or not
Yeah,
fight or feel love. Dear God, I'm not going to do that.
that's
I,
so
de-
good.
I decide. And if you don't choose to be with me, please don't, Lisa. Please do decide to be with me. But if
Yeah.
you do choose to not be with me, that is up to you. So the biggest thing is to look at communication differently. And what I always say to people is communication is a love letter
Mm,
if you write it that way, or it can be horrid. And
What
so
are
I
you
just,
seeing, as trends with couples as I mean, you've been in this business, is it almost 30 years?
yeah, 20,
Yes.
yeah.
So what is trending as time goes on and, is it harder to get one partner to go to a couples therapy? Because in the book Speaking with the Heart, we're talking about transforming the relationship and then using compassion to connect.
Yeah.
How has that changed in nearly 3 decades?
I think a ton. I think a
Yeah.
ton. So many more people are going. So many more people are starting to become aware that they've been blaming the other person and they really need to work on themselves. Um, and then the flip side is in 30 years, we have really changed the way we view marriage. And so if you go like pre-1970s, you married someone that was a good fit for you, you had common goals, and you didn't expect your spouse to be everything. Good chance you hadn't had sex before marriage. And so when you got married, it was going to open up this like door you couldn't go through that you couldn't wait to experience. Now, this is a truth, but it's a hard truth to swallow. Now you have the whole smorgasbord before you get married, and you get married, you get one forever. And so we've kind of screwed ourselves over. Plus, we're also now saying that our partner needs to be our everything. You can have everything you want. Wait for that person who checks off every single box for you, is on the same page, passion and love and money, and you can have everything that you want. And I'm thinking, what land do you live in? Like, I'm sorry, but there's nobody in the world that was created to be my perfect dream image of who I want. Because if that were to be true, that person would be completely subservient to me. And
Well, yeah.
that's not a real person. And
That's
and if that's the case, then we're done. Like, there's no challenge, there's nothing we can't teach each other anything, we're just like, I was thinking about having meatloaf tonight, perfect. I was thinking about watching this show tonight, perfect. Thinking I wanna go here on vacation, perfect. I'm gonna be bored out of
Yeah.
my mind.
Yes.
So we've told ourselves your spouse has to be everything and please you in every way. And guess what? We are human and we don't do it. And we don't need one person to be our everything. We need lots of people in lots of different ways. And we also become very, very selfish in feeling like you're supposed to please me, you're supposed to turn me on, this is your responsibility. And, there's other people out there that are noticing me more than you. And we don't really work with our partner for how do you try to make it new and exciting after 20 and 25 and 30 years? How do you keep growing in your sexual relationship and your emotional relationship so that it's deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper in the way that you care for each other? So we've changed like our freedom to step out of marriage, but we're not cultivating the depth that's possible within marriage. And so people are getting divorced quicker and
Oh,
quicker, quicker and quicker.
yes. So we're divorcing quicker than we're working on it.
Oh, yeah.
It's just like snap the fingers.
Yeah.
And then how is anxiety impacting communication with couples? I mean, anxiety has become that filler word as easy as saying, "Oh, I have OCD, so I had to shut that light off." How about you just wanted the light off? But, "Oh, I have anxiety, so this is just gonna be this you have to accept me."
Well, and I hate that phrase.
Mhm.
You have to just accept me as I am. This is who I am. And what I love to say to people, you can't teach an old dog new tricks or you can't change me. And what I say, people always laugh. Hopefully your audience will as well. But when you came into the world, you could pee, poop, scream, cry, and hopefully nurse. I think you've learned a lot in this lifetime.
I feel
And
like you just described my work day at the day job, but yes, you're right.
hopefully in that case they don't nurse. But, but
In my
but
own
if
way.
there you go. Yeah, I'm sure. But if you think about that, no, we're to change all the time. And what a weird thought. Okay, so this
Mm,
is all
it
that I've
is.
learned until this time. And I am absolutely refusing to learn anything else. You want me to love you like this? Sorry, no. Nope, this is all you get. I'm only going to love you this way because this is what's comfortable for me. That's not love. That's
Right.
not love. That's, settling.
True.
And if you're not in a partnership for the partner to help you grow beyond who you are, like what are you doing? So there's that place of recognizing, okay, I probably will suck at this, but this is important to you. So either I need to be completely honest and say I'm 100% not willing, which can be the case, or okay. But it's so funny that we'll say that about ourselves because have you ever gone to a new restaurant?
Absolutely.
Ever gone to a new movie?
Yes.
Yeah. You give yourself the opportunity to go beyond yourself all the time. But yeah,
Yeah.
when it comes to changing a pattern or a habit or something that your partner wants of you, sorry, no, can't have that.
That's brilliant. Yeah, we walk a new path, we ride a
Oh,
different bicycle. Yeah.
how many cell phones have you had?
Oh, yes.
How many pens have you had? How many times have you tried something new for the very first time? A new friend?
Mhm.
Oh, I'd like you to call me, you know, Dr. Brown instead of Heather. Okay, now you learn that. You did.
Right.
But you're used to calling people by their first name, but I say, "Well, I need you to call me by my last." Guess what? You're gonna do it. Like, we learn stuff all the time. It's just an excuse for, "I don't really wanna care about your needs." And
Right.
we need to look at that. Your partner is saying, I could feel so much more loved by you if you would care about this." Are you really gonna say, "Yeah, no, mm-mm,
I'm
not
not
gonna
feeling it.
love you." Yeah. But you for sure as heck can love me every way I wanna be loved.
Right. Oh, yes. Little
That's what
princess
we're
attitude.
saying.
Well,
Yeah.
let people know what else they can find when they get to order Speaking with the Heart by Dr. Heather Browne.
Oh, so many goodies, so many goodies. So 27 years of being a therapist. So how to approach conversation, what are the five pillars, in my opinion, of good communication, four questions to ask before you step into any conversation. I cover anxiety, I cover giving and receiving, attachment, love languages, play, laughter, budget, family, blending, sex, intimacy, dates, flirting, all sorts of stuff, all sorts of stuff.
Wow. Sounds
And
like the Bible.
it could be the Bible of, let's call it that. It's the Bible of relationship.
Yay.
I I have so many beautiful, beautiful exercises that I have created in my lifetime of being a therapist. And that was why my publisher, Post Hill, picked me up. He said, I've never seen a book like this because I'll walk you through an exercise and then you'll come back and then I'll walk you through how you've worked through the exercise. So it's kind of like a book workshop, if you will.
Mhm.
It's not just read this and go do it on your own. It's like, okay, so let's flesh this baby out. Let's go figure this one out for you. And so I walk you through how to do it because the reality is we know, but we don't do. And so my book takes it beyond the love your partner better, listen to what they say, all those things that are important, and really moves into, okay, here's an exercise just to help you with this right now. It also presses upon those places where we sell ourselves short. And I press on those with a whole bunch of love, but I press on those. Like,
Nice.
let yourself receive more love. Let yourself give more love. Let yourself have a better relationship. Like, why are you holding yourself back from what you can have? And there's a whole chapter on resistance. So when you are resisting, like what's that about? How can you help yourself in that place? How can you help your partner in that place to come to a place that's hard and figure out how do we support each other through this? How do we do this differently? How do we
Fantastic.
care for each other today in a different way?
And it
Yeah.
makes me think, and I want everybody to remember to go to Amazon, look for Speaking with the Heart by Dr. Heather Browne, and get on the waiting list or keep watching for when the link is live, which will be any second.
Any
And
second.
ponder getting this in time to make this Valentine's Day the Valentine's Day to work on your communication and show your partner it's not about candy, it's about us. And what if we could sit down once a week and go through some of the exercises and prompts and have real communication?
I mean, think about it. One Valentine's gift can completely change your relationship.
Well said. We're going to leave it at that. We're going to leave the link at the bottom, but I can't let you go until you tell me a dare or a prank story. I want to hear one from you.
So here's a dare gone bad.
Oh, dare's gone bad. Woo!
Yeah. So when I was probably about 13, my sister and I were friends with a family, and they had 3 boys. And I really liked the middle one a lot. He was just fun and he was handsome and I enjoyed him. The younger one was more my age. And the older one, the middle one just was on kind of the periphery on this one day. And so Christy and I were my sister were hanging out with the younger one. And Christy said to me, "I dare you to kiss him."
Oh, geez,
And
Christy.
I wasn't she was a little bit of a daredevil. I wasn't interested in him, and I hadn't kissed a guy yet in my life. She dared me, and I would succumb to my older sister sometimes on dares. So I did. I surprised this young man and planted one on him, and it was uncomfortable and weird and strange. And he got all warm and gushy and blushy, and I remember looking at him thinking, "Oh, no, he thinks I like him, and this was a dare." And yet it gets worse. Who was watching?
The one you like. Ah. Oh.
And so then I felt really uncomfortable,
Oh.
and then I didn't know what to do. Because do I go to him and say, "I kissed your brother as a prank. I don't really like him. I really like you"?
Oh.
And foolishly, at 12, 13, I decided that was the way to go. So before we left, I went and told him that, and he literally said to me, "You know, I really liked you."
And
And
that
I
was
was
it?
and I'm
Oh.
thinking, "Okay." And he said, "And you've hurt my brother."
Oh, shucks.
Yeah.
Dang. Wow.
Yeah.
And I bet you never did what your sister said again.
I can't say never, but I certainly never kissed a boy when she told me to kiss a boy. And,
Oh,
years
no.
later, we could laugh about it and how silly it was and how goofy I was and all of that, and nothing happened with the younger one, but nothing happened with the middle one.
Right.
I really had liked him, and
Oh.
he didn't like me so much afterwards. And
And it
so
yeah.
my little message in that is, pranks and dares are great,
Yes.
but do be certain you're careful of people's hearts in the way that you do it, because I wasn't.
No.
I wasn't.
Mm-mm. You were
That
just pumped up to make sure your sister thought you were cool. I get it.
and that was a wrong thing to do to that young boy.
Well, and maybe that lesson early on stopped you from something much worse later on, but that is a really good lesson.
Probably,
You are
probably,
right.
but I wasn't speaking with my heart.
No, no.
I was speaking with my dare, and
Yes.
that's not the wisest way to go.
No, great. Even a lesson in that. Oh my gosh, Heather, this has been so fantastic. And I'm honored to have had you back on the show and that we could reconnect over your new book. And everybody needs to look for Speaking with the Heart because you won't be sorry. And again, what a great way to kick off the Valentine's season as well. Remember, Heather, even though we're besties, we can only be strangers once. And I invite you to stay weird. You can say that you will.
I will. I don't think there's any way for me to not.
Excellent. Love you.
Love you too, babe.